before I convert into a Lance Stroll fan, you're converting into a McLaren fan.
Obviously Aston Martin, because they got 1-2, I feel it they deserve some credit. Probably that's the reason why I decided to wear my only orange t-shirt. Hi guys, welcome back to Red Flag Radio F1 YouTube channel. And oh boy, what a weekend we had in Miami. If we had to describe it, chaotic sprint, spicy start to the race, and then, well, a good old Miami snooze fest post lap 20.
I mean, it's alright, like, overrated as
And just when we thought we'll get a break from this track, nope. F1 decided we will be stuck with this track for almost 2041, and honestly, by the time we will leave the circuit, Alonso might still be racing and Lily Verstappen might be the one chasing the championship. Let's just get into it before we get too existential. McLaren, I'm sure you must be happy with that 1-2 in sprint as well as in race. The fastest car all weekend, Lando won the sprint, Oscar won the race. It was just one of the most dominant weekend in recent memory I can think of, and they are leading the constructors title. They have 246 points, which in total is same as Mercedes plus Red Bull. That's a statement, man. What do you think, man? As a McLaren fan, how are you feeling?
As a McLaren fan, every weekend I have a shattering orgasm.
This is my kingdom, come.
But more than that, I think it was amazing, right? Because of the rain, we got a bunch of bullshit going on during both the races. But somehow the McLaren boys managed to come out on top. And I'm nothing but ecstatic about that. Of course, Oscar won the main race and Lando won the sprint, and Oscar was really happy to win the main race more than coming second in the sprint. I think he just knew that he could have done better and he could have won the race, and I think that's why Lando had to sort of nervously ask for what is going on with the safety car because of debris from Sainz's car in the sprint race, because he desperately wanted to finish under a safety car if he can manage to do that. We still got that, but for different reasons. Lawson.
We will not talk.
But
I don't want to talk about that part.
I think it's the best thing we could have received as a team, and I mean, what else can I say here? I mean, it was just a very neat and tidy weekend from both drivers. 1-2 2-1s either way.
True, man. I feel that Lando sprint win felt like a rerun of 2024. Right place at right time with the safety car, of course. And like you said, Lawson was the one who made it happen. But I think when it comes to the main race, I think Oscar Piastri was so good, man. Like, you are racing against Max Verstappen, who is always at the top even if car is not allowing him. And that overtake on him, and he made Max Verstappen make that silly mistake which we don't see quite often, because he's always at elbows out person. He will push you at crazy limits, and we have seen Lando Norris struggle in that part. So seeing that overtake and just going off in a different dimension, it was amazing. And now 3 wins in a row, man, and he is now leading the championship by 16 points. Yeah, man, it's crazy. And obviously Lando won the sprint, but I'm sure he won't be thrilled with that result, simply because in a way he won 1 point over Piastri in sprint but lost 7 points in the race, and he had no answers after overtaking Max, because it was not an easy task in any way, right? So
yeah. Lando was struggling so much to overtake Max as well. I mean, he was fighting very neatly, and when he did go off track, I believe before the radio call even came, he gave that position back because he knew it was not going to stick. So he gave it back himself. He set himself up for the next DRS zone, and the following lap he did overtake Max, but it didn't look as easy for him as it did for Oscar. Granted, Oscar also did that going into turn 1 of the race, of the beginning of the race, so the conditions were much more different, but bottom line is he managed to stick it. And I don't think I want to give to Lando for any reason, because technically he did I believe he started second and finished second. So
true. I mean, he lost some positions at turn 1 with that Max, not turn 1, but I'll say the first sector when he was fighting with Max. And again, he was in that zone, man. If I do anything against Max Verstappen, it will never work, and people will just come to complain and show that he's not that aggressive, he's not fighting that hard, maybe he's too lazy. All the comments, that bullshit comments that they give to Lando Norris. And in any way Lando Norris tries, Max Verstappen shows that I am here, I am the boss here, and he never makes it easy for Lando. So it must be frustrating. And if Lando thought that he's just fighting Piastri, I think he needs to reconsider that part, that because Max Verstappen is always there with him and Piastri playing his cards really well.
Yeah.
3 wins in a row. I mean, it's crazy, man. And now winning this in Miami, which we thought that Lando Norris will be winning both races because he had that momentum and driving on this track. It's just unbelievable, man. And credit where it's due, I feel McLaren is doing really well to manage both drivers in a way. And obviously, with the car they have, it is really important to get maximum points whenever it's possible, because I think from the next track, we will see more upgrades coming from different teams, right?
Technology.
So it definitely makes sense to get as many points as possible straight away.
Yeah, but speaking of frustration, how much do you think Max Verstappen wanted to kill a bunch of drivers on the track after the race? Because, of course, Oscar has been like his Achilles heel, right? Oscar is just somehow managing to stick the very first attempt he makes towards Max. And if not, definitely the second attempt will stick. He's got that Senna mentality that he'll put you in a position where it's up to you to decide, either we both DNF or I get ahead of you. And Oscar, once he wins that psychological battle, just like Ayrton Senna, once he wins that psychological battle once, he just continues sticking it out. Now he's forcing mistakes out of a guy who does not historically make mistakes.
True, man. It was surprising in a way.
Yeah.
Like this was not a weekend for Max Verstappen. And like you say, there were people he wanted to kill. I will try to sum up that part. I mean, if effort won races, I think Max would be the champion on every race day, because he threw that kitchen sink at McLaren, man. But that Red Bull just looked like a tractor with those, braking issues. Like, he gave everything. He got that pole position, but again, no pace. And that mistimed virtual safety car that just, killed his podium chances as well after both McLaren boys just went ahead. So it was crazy. And not only about the race, in the sprint as well, he faced, he got that 10-second penalty after crashing with Antonelli. And, that was just unfortunate timing, and that was just the Red Bull's fault that they just gave him the green light that you can just leave, and he just crashed. So
Dude, but I don't think even if he had that moment in the pit lane, he still probably should have received a 10-second penalty, because just like Lando in Jeddah, he was ahead of his grid box in the sprint race.
Now people are divided about that part as well, because there were some angles where he's just in that grid box. I saw those photos and I'm like, maybe
see, based on the onboard cam, his front wheel was ahead of the yellow line. So I mean, we can debate about this till the cows come home.
True.
But bottom line is, his points in the sprint got shafted beyond measure.
Exactly, man. That's where I was coming to, because from some angles which I saw, obviously, I think FIA will have more angles. But can we rely on FIA with those decisions? Probably not. That can be a different video. But even if we talk about that, I think that part just went out of the sync when he got that another 10-second penalty for that unsafe release. So it was a very interesting weekend per se for Max Verstappen, because he didn't get any podium in both races, which is a very rare sight. And talking about the other drivers, I feel Yuki Tsunoda is doing really well compared to what the standards we have seen from the second seat, right? I mean, third time he got in Q3 and he was able to make points in both races. Like, he got P6 in sprint from P19. Obviously, other drivers got penalties. We can talk about that. But in a sprint, making 13 places, it's not easy, and he still bagged points in the main race as well. So I think Yuki Tsunoda is trying his best, right, to get as many points as possible, and that's a positive side for Red Bull, at least, that in some way that second driver is there. Yeah,
many congratulations to Yuki for being the driver finally that Red Bull wants to, at least in terms of bring points. I mean, I'm sure they're not expecting him to fight the McLaren's like Max is every race, but at least he's doing his job to keep Red Bull in the contention for the constructors. And also, speaking of congratulations, I forgot about this earlier. Congratulations to Lily Verstappen on winning her first race as well. Going back
Right.
to Yuki though, good stuff from him
Good
for both
uncle.
the races. Yeah.
Uncle Yuki, we saw that video from
Yeah.
Red Bull as well. That was a very cute video, right?
Yeah. So Uncle Yuki doing a good job of bringing in some points. And again, okay. So speaking of points, this does frustrate me a little bit, but we're gonna talk about it anyway. George Saap Russell has somehow managed to wiggle his way onto the podium on another race, equating his tally of podiums in the 2024 season. He had 4 podiums in 2024, and he has 4 already this season. So the snake that he is, somehow he manages to get onto the podium.
Insert does nothing, finishes P3. Another podium, man. I mean, he's that quiet assassin for Mercedes now, because I feel all eyes were on Antonelli this weekend for a change, because he drove really well in those qualifying sessions. He got pole position, man, in the sprint, and he became the youngest pole sitter ever for, in any
race
sessions.
format, yeah.
Right. And he looked electric in those sessions, and he got P3 in the main race qualifying session as well. So his duel was with Piastri in turn 1 was not that ideal, and Antonelli was getting that spotlight. But if we stick to Russell, he was just there at right place and right time, and I think this is the statement I'm using for him every time we talk about Russell and those podium moments which he gets. So it's funny, it's nice. Again, very surprising to see Russell there, but that's the driver you need for your team, man. Being there at right place at right time, and he's consistently doing that. So again, Mr. Consistent, that title sums up his performance, right?
Mr. Consistent, if you ask me, but okay, fine, sure. I was hoping one of the Ferraris, or Ferrari actually. This time around, I was actually hoping one of the Williams would get on the podium. I know it's a long shot. I know it's a little bit too ambitious to dream about, but whatever, man. They were doing amazing. We saw during both qualifying sessions in both races that they had the pace and they were managing to extract the pace. And more importantly, Sainz was managing to do that as well. Historically, this season, we saw that Albon was better than Sainz, but Sainz is getting his elbows out during the race as well. They kept battle.
Have you ever had a dream that you do
each other as well? So I think, if as far as Mercedes engines go, I think I'd support the Williams one more.
True, man. I think Williams were cooking this weekend. For me, they were third fastest team, legitimately faster than Ferrari, and because Max Verstappen is able to extract too much from Red Bull. But I think that car was faster than Red Bull as well, in a way. If there was a different driver driving that Red Bull car, probably they would have, be very close to that podium. But perfectly summed up, I guess both drivers are doing so well. Albon was flying. Even in sprint, he got P4. Obviously, that penalty was a bit harsh for him, because of which he didn't get points. But he finished P5 in the race on merit. And as you mentioned, Sainz was able to out-qualify both Ferraris in this weekend.
What's he getting? This is the big question. What's he getting? That tastes like promotion!
And he was consistently fighting with Ferraris. Obviously, he ended up on P9, and there was a desperate move on Hamilton at last, but that didn't work. But this duo is starting to click, man, and with no major upgrades planned, maybe this is the James Vowles magic at work straight away now, because this is the pace we saw in testing as well, and finally they are able to show that on track. So props to Sainz, props to Albon, who is consistently doing really well, and I am also on that now Williams hype train now, because if they can continue to do this performance, I feel there are other teams who will be nervous, and probably we will talk about the team who will be very nervous at the moment, right?
Yeah, that's Ferrari. Absolutely. You never think about comparing Ferrari and Williams, at least in the recent last 10 years, that we'd say, oh, Ferrari has to worry about Williams, but Ferrari is the gift that keeps on giving in terms of at least meme content. And the fact that, for all of you who did watch the race, the number of radio messages between Lewis and his engineer are pure gold mine. Not for Ferrari fans, surely, but yeah, man, he could not pull away from Williams that much. Sainz, that is 1.4 seconds, Sainz kept and maintained, and he did catch up, as you said, in the end, although the move didn't stick. But the fact that Lewis on mediums was as fast as Leclerc on hards just shows that Leclerc was getting too much out of his car as well. He was bringing 150% out of his car as well. But an apples to apples comparison would be Yuki in Red Bull, their Ferraris, and the Williams, and Williams was definitely the faster of all these teams.
True. So we can't sugarcoat it, man. Like Ferrari were nowhere on raw pace. Yes, Hamilton got P3 in the sprint. Yeah, sprint always works for them.
Yeah.
But it was not on raw pace. It was just, changing conditions and going for that pit stop and changing to dry tires when, track was drying up. So it was a perfect call, and that helped them to get that P3. But radio rage mode activated. He lost his mind. I was laughing my ass off when I heard that, when he talked about Sainz as well. It was
so you
so
want me
funny
to let him past as well.
Yeah, I was like, I just wanted to say, welcome to Ferrari, Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
There is no passion, there is no vision, there is no aggression.
But I don't know, man. I don't think this is what he signed up for with Leclerc as well, because genuinely there was no pace for both drivers. And with Imola, Ferrari's home race coming next, if they are the 5th fastest team there, I think Tifosi might burn that paddock down, man, because they won't accept that being 5th fastest team in the home track.
And they do have pace in some tracks, but then that's exactly the problem, right? That car looks like it's fast on very specific conditions. The window of operation where a Ferrari looks good is very small, and that is horrible because we're gonna have a multitude of tracks with a lot of different properties.
True, man. They were the first team to bring some major upgrades to that car, and most of the fans will be expecting some upgrades here as well, because this is their home race. And definitely when it comes to Ferrari driving in Italy, it's a different feeling. So they really want to do well. Whether they will do well or not, I don't know at the moment, but only time will tell. But let's see, hopefully they are able to sort out those radio communications, and there won't be more cases where we have to sugarcoat something about Ferrari. But speaking about another team, or I should say one-man army at the moment, let's talk about Lance Stroll, man. Because say whatever you want, but when it rains, the man transforms to something else. I mean, P5 in sprint with that Aston Martin, unreal, man. He made up 5 places at the start. And that pit call was perfect because he had nothing to lose at that moment. And now he has 14 points this season, and every single one from him. And he's top 10 in driver standings. Now, I know he's not consistent. His qualifying performances are not that great. But you get points in races. And when your car is not performing well, these are the moments where you have to capitalize, man. And he's doing that. So, again, I'm not a massive, big Lance Stroll fan. But credit where it's due, he's doing something in that, back marker car. So,
Yeah.
I need to give him credit as well. And it's a very weird place to be in right now, because if one driver is bringing points and 14 points in total, my favorite driver Alonso is still stuck on 0 points. He crashed with Lawson in the sprint. And that was unfortunate. Maybe it was not his fault, and it was just end of that sprint. And obviously I don't want to talk about the race. We were the 10th fastest team, no moves made, and we were not going forward. You have to wonder whether he's still hungry for this now, because he wanted to drive at front, and by no means he's driving at front, right?
Yeah, I think so. Okay, first of all, great stuff from Lance Stroll. He did capitalize in the wet conditions, and many congratulations to you. You don't have to burn your hat anymore. But
Yes, 4 points. Yes, I forgot about that part, man. We said that if there will be no points, I have to burn my cap. So Stroll is trying his best to save my cap.
I do want to talk more about Alonso because in the sprint he got shafted by a pink Lawson-shaped tactical missile, and I think it was very unfortunate for him. And it wasn't even a crash where he could have limped back to the pits or finished the race or anything like that. He just got deleted out of this server. Yeah, man. If you talk about him being hungry or not, I think still one more year, as we keep saying, we should consider him for next year as well because of the upgrades at Aston Martin, wind tunnel, Adrian Newey, Honda engines, stuff like that. So we can maybe see him fight again next year, especially with the regs changes. Maybe other teams go themselves as well and get the regulations very wrong, interpreted very wrongly. But
True.
yeah, what can we say, man? Fine, Lance Stroll got 4 points. I have to concede that. So good for Aston Martin.
It's not good in any means because I don't know, man, from podiums to back markers in 2 years. And that post-race Aston Martin clip where, Alonso is just waiting for Lance Stroll to get out of that car and both were just, hugged each other and just left. It was depressing, man. Like, I hope because we are moving to Imola, which is the race where we said, they will be bringing some major upgrades. So, unless Adrian Newey pulls out a miracle, this car is toast, man. I really don't know what else I can say. And like you said, maybe 2026 is the only motivation for Alonso at the moment because right now he's just trying to survive in a way. He needs to fight at top, man. He's that driver who needs more wins and more championships, I feel. Championship is something that is too far at the moment, but one more win, man. Give him that win. He needs that 33rd win, I feel.
But then moving on to another team that is worth all this weekend, Alpine. And I mean, Doohan is just getting more and more depressing. So I think his seat is pretty much gone to Colapinto. Maybe not. Let's see. With the European
It's
leg coming
burning right now, man.
Yeah, but it's
burning for
definitely
it.
burning. Yeah. So I don't know. And Gasly was trying his best as well, but one measly point across the entire weekend. There is not much we can talk about. The competition up front was heating up a lot more, and Williams is definitely the best of the rest. I don't think Alpine has got that. Like, I think Alpine was being driven by Gasly, not two drivers. So what Max is doing to Red Bull and Lance is doing to Aston Martin, Gasly is doing to Alpine. He's just a one-man show up there.
True, man. I mean, Jack Doohan did out-qualify Gasly, but again, he crashed in that main race. So points are given on a Sunday, not on Saturday. And if Imola was his deadline, I feel Colapinto is waiting in the wings that this could be Jack's last shot, because right now Doohan must be, feeling that pressure, that tension, that maybe it's too late now. Or whether that will happen or not, again, I'm not sure. But Alpine can make that switch at the moment because they need two drivers to fight at least for P5. If P5 is not possible, like you said, Williams is in another dimension at the moment, but P6 is something that they can get. Let's see what they can do. I think this is the best time to even experiment because they are nowhere at the moment, and maybe Colapinto can give them a fresh perspective in way. But it's always, it feels too harsh to see other driver getting sacked and replaced by the reserve driver. Again, Colapinto deserves a seat because of his performances with Williams, but I think that change is very close if the situation is not changing for Jack Doohan.
Yeah, and similar is the case for Racing Bulls as well, right? They did all the entire weekend, and in fact Lawson was too busy crashing with Alonso, and it was just a horrible
Jack
weekend.
Doohan as well.
Yeah. But a horrible weekend for them as well. Worth nothing. Just went there, burnt money and fuel and came back.
Right. I mean, Hajar was quiet. He couldn't do much. I feel maybe it was the car. But Lawson, he was messy again. Low confidence, inconsistent. And I feel if he doesn't turn it around, Arvid Lindblad will be knocking on the 2026 door real soon. Because I don't think Red Bull will ignore him as well. He's a junior driver who will get spotlight straight away once he joins, because he's a very young driver and we know the reputation Red Bull have. when it comes to bringing the new drivers into even Racing Bull or Red Bull. So it's desperate times for Lawson as well. If he had that pressure on Red Bull, I feel now he's having that pressure on Racing Bull car as well, because he needs to deliver now, man. Moving on to the final two teams, Haas, again it was home race, but they were invisible. Ocon was there about fighting for that P11 close to points, and BMN's PU decided to
engine go bang bang.
Exactly, that was the case, and that ended his race prematurely. So disappointing, and maybe some Haas fans came to saw that race, but they won't be happy to see that American
Dude,
team.
in fact, I called it that Haas having home turf advantage is not gonna amount to because the
True,
car
man.
is just dog right now.
True, man. Maybe they are waiting for another American team to join. Cadillac. Right?
Let's see what happens there next year, and maybe Sergio can do better than, I don't know, Yuki, Lawson, Haas's. There are a lot of people Sergio has to prove wrong.
Many people, to be honest. So we'll see whatever happens there, because there's no official news yet.
Yeah.
And moving on to the final team, business as usual, Sauber. I mean, they were slightly better than Aston Martin, but that's about it. Bortoleto made into Q2, which is a win for them. Retired in the race due to car issues. Hulkenberg didn't do much either, but what else I can say? It's the same old weekend. I mean, they must be waiting for that Audi deal to start straight away.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
they
all
must
I can
be
say.
desperate to get that Audi money and engine as well, because like being a Sauber fan is so depressing, right? I'm sure there are some Sauber fans out there, but it must be so depressing, right? Every team a green sketch pen is going around the track and does nothing is being done by that car. They're 19th, 20th, 18th, something like that, and no one gives a about that team either. I say that with
they're used to
respect
it.
for them. Yeah, I say that with utmost respect for them. We do try to talk about them as much as possible, but sadly they just don't have enough money or machine either way to make it to the talking points for anyone. But hopefully,
True.
yeah, Audi money helps, hopefully, and maybe next year we get to talk about them a lot.
True, man. But I guess that's pretty much a wrap up, I guess, because we are done with Miami. It was chaotic. I will not lie. Definitely we need more rain to spice it up next time. So in a way, maybe we can say that Miami delivered some drama, but now we are off to Europe. We have 1 week break, so we can relax, talk about life, and concentrate on other things. But after that, we have a triple header again: Imola, then Monaco, then Spain.
Yes.
So this will be interesting. So
Yeah.
again, the questions remains: can Oscar keep this run going? Will Lando strike back? How Max Verstappen will come back in those 3 races now? Can Ferrari avoid a home embarrassment? How Kimi Antonelli will perform in his first home race? Too many questions, and we are excited for the triple header now. If you enjoyed this review, please hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, and please ring that bell icon as well to stay updated with us and as we move to Europe. But until that, thanks for watching, and goodbye.